Frozen dinners used to be simple. You microwaved them, lowered your expectations, and moved on with your life. But somewhere along the way, the freezer aisle turned into a nutrition battlefield. Some meals quietly wreck your energy, hormones, and hunger signals. Others are shockingly solid, and most people have no idea which is which. So we lined up 10 popular frozen dinners, 5 you should never buy again, and 5 that actually deserve a permanent spot in your freezer. We looked at taste, ingredients, protein quality, sodium, and yes, how these meals can influence testosterone and long-term health. And trust me, the number one pick is not the one people usually assume. Let's get into it. Number 1, Totino's Combination Party Pizza. Totino's Combination Party Pizza barely pretends to be a full meal. It is built like a snack that accidentally became dinner, and that design choice shows up immediately in how your body reacts to it. The biggest issue is protein quality and quantity. A full Totino's pizza delivers very little usable protein, far below the amount needed to support muscle repair or stable hormone production. Testosterone production relies on adequate protein intake to supply amino acids and keep blood sugar steady. Meals built mostly from refined flour and oils do the opposite. They spike blood glucose quickly, trigger insulin release, and create a crash that leaves you tired and hungry soon after. Fat quality is another problem. Totino's uses refined seed oils and saturated fats that promote low-grade inflammation. Chronic inflammation has been repeatedly linked to suppressed testosterone levels and poorer metabolic health. When inflammation rises, cortisol often follows, and cortisol directly works against testosterone in the body. Sodium adds a final layer of stress. One pizza can deliver a heavy sodium hit with very little potassium or magnesium to balance it. That imbalance strains blood pressure regulation and increases fluid retention, both of which signal the body to shift away from anabolic hormones like testosterone. The end result is a meal that feels filling for minutes, but leaves you unsatisfied, sluggish, and craving more food later. It delivers calories without nourishment, nostalgia without benefit, and convenience at the cost of long-term hormonal health. Number 2, Marie Callender's Chicken Pot Pie. Marie Callender's Chicken Pot Pie looks like the definition of comfort: golden crust, thick filling, and a portion size that feels like real value. Nutritionally, though, this is one of the most punishing frozen dinners you can eat. The calorie load is the first red flag. A single pot pie can push past a full meal's worth of calories, largely from refined flour and fat. That combination drives insulin spikes, which research links to poorer testosterone signaling when it happens repeatedly. Saturated fat is another issue. This pie delivers a heavy dose in one sitting, often close to a full day's recommended limit. High saturated fat intake is associated with increased inflammation, and inflammation is one of the fastest ways to suppress testosterone and recovery. Sodium makes it worse. One pot pie can contain nearly an entire day's sodium allowance, with very little potassium to balance it. Excess sodium raises cortisol, a stress hormone that directly works against testosterone. Even the protein underperforms. The chicken is heavily processed and diluted by sauce, meaning you get fewer usable amino acids than the label suggests. It feels filling, but hormonally and metabolically, this meal creates stress rather than nourishment. Number 3, Great Value Meat Lovers Lasagna. Great Value's Meat Lovers Lasagna sells itself on volume and price. Big tray, multiple meats, low cost. On paper, it looks like a hearty dinner. In practice, it is a stress test for your metabolism. The meat blend is the first issue. Instead of whole cuts, this lasagna relies on heavily processed meats mixed into the sauce. That lowers protein quality and increases exposure to preservatives. Testosterone production responds best to complete, minimally processed proteins, not meat fragments held together by salt and starch. Then there is the sodium load. One serving already pushes high, and most people eat far more than the label serving size. Excess sodium raises cortisol and fluid retention, both of which interfere with testosterone signaling and recovery. The pasta layers are thick and refined, which means fast digestion and poor blood sugar control. That combination drives insulin spikes without enough fiber to slow absorption. Over time, this pattern is linked to reduced hormonal efficiency. Fat content adds another layer of strain. Saturated fat and cheap oils combine to increase inflammation, and inflammation directly suppresses anabolic hormones. It fills your stomach, but it does not nourish your system. Cheap calories come with hidden costs. Number 4, El Monterrey 3-Cheese Quesadilla. El Monterrey's 3-Cheese Quesadilla looks innocent. It is small, simple, and feels like a lighter option compared to giant frozen trays. That perception is exactly why it causes problems. This meal is extremely calorie-dense for its size. You finish it quickly, but your body barely registers that you have eaten. That is because it is low in protein and fiber, the two nutrients that signal fullness and stabilize appetite hormones. When those signals stay weak, hunger comes back fast, and usually stronger than before. The cheese is another issue. It is not just dairy, it is a heavily processed blend designed to melt smoothly. That processing introduces emulsifiers and stabilizers that research increasingly links to gut inflammation. Gut inflammation matters because the gut plays a direct role in hormone regulation, including testosterone. The tortilla adds refined carbohydrates with almost no fiber. Blood sugar rises quickly, insulin follows, and energy drops soon after. Repeating that cycle regularly is associated with poorer metabolic health and weaker testosterone signaling over time. Sodium is high relative to portion size, adding stress without balance from potassium or magnesium. In all, this quesadilla feels light, but metabolically, it behaves like junk food. Quick, unsatisfying, and quietly disruptive. At number 5, Lean Cuisine Grilled Chicken Primavera. Lean Cuisine Grilled Chicken Primavera looks like the responsible choice. Low fat, modest calories, vegetables on the box, and decades of diet-friendly branding doing most of the convincing for you. But this is a classic example of how low fat often translates into low quality. When fat is removed from food, flavor disappears with it. To compensate, manufacturers rely on sodium, thickeners, and additives. This meal delivers a surprisingly high sodium load for its size, which raises cortisol levels. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and when it stays elevated, testosterone production drops. That trade-off alone makes meals like this a poor long-term option. Protein is another issue. The chicken portion is small and lightly processed, providing just enough protein to look acceptable on a label, but not enough to meaningfully support muscle repair or hormone production. Testosterone benefits from adequate protein intake spread across meals, not minimal servings padded with pasta. The vegetables sound healthy, but after freezing and reheating, their fiber structure is largely broken down. That means weaker blood sugar control and reduced satiety. You finish the meal and feel light, not energized. Low fat does not mean body-friendly. It often means hormonally incomplete, leaving you hungry, stressed, and unsatisfied shortly after eating. Now, up to this point, the pattern is clear. Cheap calories, weak protein, and heavy processing dressed up as convenience. But the frozen aisle is not broken by default. The problem is, who is cutting corners and who is not? Because our next set of brands figured out that if you respect ingredients and cooking methods, frozen food can actually support energy, satiety, and hormone balance instead of sabotaging it. And that is where things finally turn around. Let's proceed. Number 1, Taipei Frozen Asian Meals. Taipei quietly does something most frozen dinners fail at. It delivers real flavor without wrecking your metabolism. These meals lean on simple cooking logic, solid protein, and recognizable ingredients, which already puts them ahead of most freezer aisle options. The protein content is the biggest win. Taipei meals usually include a meaningful portion of chicken or beef that is lightly processed and properly seasoned. Adequate protein intake is essential for testosterone production because it supplies the amino acids needed for hormone signaling and muscle maintenance. Unlike carb-heavy frozen meals, these actually help you feel full. Carbohydrates are better balanced as well. While there is rice or noodles, the portions are controlled and paired with protein and vegetables. That slows digestion, stabilizes blood sugar, and reduces insulin spikes, which supports healthier testosterone levels over time. Fat quality is another plus. Type avoids excessive industrial oils and keeps fat levels moderate. Lower inflammation means lower cortisol, and lower cortisol allows testosterone to function properly. Sodium is still present, but far more reasonable compared to most frozen Asian meals. The result is a dinner that feels satisfying, flavorful, and energizing rather than bloating or draining. This is frozen food done with restraint and intent, and it shows. Number 2, Devour Mac and Cheese Bowls. Mac and cheese rarely shows up in conversations about smart eating, but Devour earns its place by understanding one thing most frozen meals ignore: satiety matters. These bowls are built to actually fill you up instead of leaving you hungry an hour later. The protein content is the key difference. Devour uses real cheese and meaningful dairy-based protein rather than powdered substitutes. Protein intake plays a direct role in testosterone production by supporting muscle tissue and stabilizing blood sugar. When blood sugar stays stable, the hormonal environment stays more favorable. Fat quality also helps. While this is still comfort food, the fats come largely from dairy rather than industrial seed oils. Dairy fats contain cholesterol, which is the raw material your body uses to produce testosterone. That does not mean unlimited portions, but it does mean the fat source itself is not working against you. Carbohydrates are present but paired correctly. The pasta is balanced by fat and protein, slowing digestion and preventing sharp insulin spikes. That keeps energy levels steadier and reduces the hormonal crash common after carb-heavy meals. Sodium is not low, but it is reasonable for the portion size. Devour works because it is honest comfort food that actually respects basic nutrition principles instead of pretending to be diet food. Number 3, Amy's Kitchen Frozen Meals. Amy's Kitchen stands out because it does something radical in the frozen food world. It cooks like a real kitchen. These meals are built around organic ingredients, simple recipes, and food that still resembles its original form after reheating. Protein quality is one of the quiet advantages here. Amy's uses real cheese, beans, and properly prepared vegetables instead of protein isolates and fillers. While these meals are often vegetarian, they still provide steady amino acids that support muscle function and hormone signaling. Stable protein intake helps prevent blood sugar swings, which is important for maintaining healthy testosterone levels. Fat quality matters too. Amy's relies more on dairy fats and natural oils rather than heavily refined seed oils. Lower exposure to inflammatory fats means lower baseline inflammation, and inflammation is one of the fastest ways to disrupt testosterone balance. Sodium levels are noticeably lower than most frozen competitors. That reduces cortisol stress on the body and helps preserve a healthier hormonal environment. You feel fed, not bloated. The biggest win is digestion. These meals sit well, digest slowly, and keep you full longer. That steady digestion supports energy, mood, and hormone stability throughout the day. Amy's proves that frozen food can respect both your body and your time without cutting corners. Number 4, Healthy Choice Power Bowls. Healthy Choice Power Bowls work because they fix the exact problems that ruin most frozen dinners. They focus on balance instead of extremes. Real protein, controlled carbs, and vegetables that still have texture when you eat them. Protein is the foundation here. Most power bowls deliver around 25 to 30 grams of protein, which is a meaningful amount for a single meal. Adequate protein supports testosterone production by providing amino acids and helping regulate blood sugar. When blood sugar stays stable, insulin stays lower, and testosterone signaling stays stronger. The carbohydrates are slower digesting. Whole grains and legumes replace refined starches, which prevents sharp glucose spikes. That matters because repeated insulin surges are linked to reduced testosterone over time. Fat content is moderate and functional. These bowls avoid heavy industrial oils and rely on smaller amounts of fats that support satiety without driving inflammation. Less inflammation means lower cortisol, and cortisol is one of testosterone's biggest enemies. Sodium is controlled compared to most frozen meals. You finish the bowl feeling energized instead of bloated or thirsty. Power bowls succeed because they feel like real meals. They satisfy hunger, support energy, and respect basic hormonal biology. Number 5. Just Bare lightly breaded chicken bites. Just Bare chicken bites barely feel like frozen food, and that is the point. These are built around one primary ingredient, chicken, not filler. The protein quality is excellent. Real chicken breast delivers complete amino acids that directly support muscle maintenance and testosterone production. High-quality protein also increases satiety, which helps regulate appetite hormones and prevents overeating later. The breading is light and minimal. That keeps refined carbohydrates low and prevents the blood sugar spikes common in frozen breaded foods. Stable blood sugar supports a healthier hormonal environment. Fat quality is another win. These bites avoid heavy seed oil saturation and rely on simpler fats that do not promote inflammation. Lower inflammation allows testosterone to function without interference from elevated cortisol. Sodium levels are far more reasonable than typical frozen chicken products. You get flavor without excessive salt stress. These work best as a flexible protein base. Pair them with vegetables or rice, and you have a fast meal that supports energy, recovery, and hormone health. That is rare in the freezer aisle. In all, the frozen dinner aisle is far more competitive than most people realize, and this breakdown shows how small ingredient and formulation choices separate meals that drain your energy from ones that actually support your body. Now the question is yours. Did your go-to frozen dinner make the cut? Or is there one you think deserved a higher spot on the list? Drop it in the comments and let us know. And if you enjoyed this kind of breakdown and want more food rankings that separate marketing hype from real nutrition, make sure to like and subscribe. There is a lot more coming, and you will not want to miss the next one.